sweating from that salsa. It's very good.
I don't know what you put.
Mushrooms and sausage. Same as last time. Oh, there's salsa in there too. Actually, I don't think I put salsa in the whole thing. I just put it on mine. It's okay. Let's make sure this thing's actually hooked up. Alrighty. Hey, Anna. Hey, Michelle, Sharon. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? I think I'm going to make a bit shoot, just in case the tubes go down. But haven't really looked into it yet. Does anybody know anything about bit shoot? Excuse me. Hello.
Hi, how are you? And apologies that it took me a little bit of time to get my everything together.
You're fine.
Thank you.
You're here now.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Good. How's life?
It's perfectly fine.
Good.
No problems whatsoever. How are you?
I'm doing very good. I'm always like doing art, doing music, very like the world can whatever, going wild, going crazy. I'm like always in my studio, but I'm definitely aware of the craziness going on. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like unhealthfully disconnected from reality, but I'm healthfully disconnected from reality, making art and music. But then also very, very interested in ongoing current affairs and what's going on out there.
Yeah, Interesting times. um, someone left a message that I think they took your advice on a supplement or something. I forget what it was. What is it that you were taking?
I hope it was Zeolite.
Zeolite, yeah.
Because I'm way into that. I'm a big promoter of it, and I'm not like an affiliate or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like the old Seinfeld episode. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Remember that?
The double disclaimer.
That's from like another century. That's from so long ago. I don't even know those references.
I think I have watched a few episodes of Frasier. Not too many, though. I just remember it was like confusing to me because it just was rich people and butlers, and I didn't know what they were talking about ever. But
you know, with Seinfeld, you know, I'm a cultural outsider as I come here, as I walk in and everything. Every single episode that I watched, I was simply like this. This could have been solved with simple communication. If anybody in that whole episode had been able to simply communicate. But then I learned also a lot about, you know, Earth-like culture and isms.
Mm-hmm.
The different little cultural quirks that are part of understanding this world around you.
Isms are like the machine that runs the world.
Some people are their isms, definitely. You know, if they're like very like, whatever, Jaguars rule. You know, if they're very wrapped up in identifying with the cultural surface minutiae as opposed to identifying with something else on a deep soul level, defining themselves by something more than the surface stuff of what's going on in the world.
Right. Yeah, surface is what everybody's fed, but it's not very helpful to us in general. So I titled this video "Unexpected Divergence," and somebody was asking me what that meant. I didn't mean that I have a divergence that I'm going to share here, as that I know how something's going to go down, but I wanted to give a little bit of advice on how to treat sort of current events in terms of how we feel inside about it. And you gave a little bit of advice on your what's it called? Telegraph? On your telegraph, yeah. So my very simple and basic advice is to point yourself in the direction that you would like to go. Feeling wise, don't get specific on specific outcomes. That doesn't ever work. It always backfires. But how you would wish to feel moving forward with certain critical moments happening, just internally aim yourself the direction that you wish to move and trust in that. Trust in yourself. Don't trust in any plan or what any outside is telling you. Go to where you feel that you deserve to go at this moment in time.
I agree with all that you're saying. And my other big inspiration or caution or guidance is that sometimes you enter into a reality, like you go through a portal of experience, which is like a transformative doorway or a transformative moment, and then you enter into an edifice or a context. And the context might be the smaller entryway or like the vestibule of a much, much larger, complex structure. But you're just in the place where you walk in and like take off your muddy shoes and hang up your wet umbrella. And I'm cautioning everyone, don't get stuck in the vestibule of reality. That you might look around after the events that are going on in the near future and you might be like, wow, we're definitely in a different expanded reality. Yes, you are, but you might just be in the little vestibule where you're supposed to wipe your feet and then go into an even more expansive, vaulted, beautiful, ballroom that's actually the rest of the house that you're supposed to be in. So I'm talking about, like, if you would settle for what people define as 5D, even though it's not what I call 5D, because what I call 5D is a sea of uncollapsed waveforms, but what other people describe as like a utopia or the Elysian fields, like a place where you are still embodied, where you still have a physicality, but everything flows properly the way it is supposed to, and you have more freedom and more latitude. But we're not talking about like living at a level of abstraction like what I paint. the fifth dimension and higher is living at an abstract level, do not have a face, do not flap mouth parts to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about a lower experience of reality when they say 5D. But my whole point of making that distinction is to say, don't get stuck with trinkets. Even if someone comes along and says, here, have a free energy device, that's still just the vestibule. Or how about this? Get into this magical chamber or bed or blah, 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 and it will heal you of your injuries or illnesses. That is still the vestibule. Because the expanded real reality beyond that entryway is you do not need an apparatus to get into to heal your body. Your inner apparatus here becomes functional, and it's like a microscope, like you can look at your entire body and see everything, and of course you are empowered to heal and regenerate anything in your body that needs to be healed. So I'm also like always giving that message, hang in there of whatever illnesses or injuries you have. If you've made it to this point, the answer is not that technology will help you to regrow your limbs or whatever you need or anything like that. The answer is always a divine or a supernatural, non-technological force.
Mm-hmm.
But still nonetheless, you're able to regenerate. That we're in this time now of, we would call it, I guess, bioregeneration or cellular regeneration, where you no longer have to become decrepit as you're growing older, and you can heal from and regenerate a lot of things that you might not have been able to do. So like that, whatever, if I have a brain injury, if I have places where there's neurological damage, I don't have to say, it's that way forever. Like, I literally am experiencing what it's like to have things regenerate and come online again. So I can tell you it's for real. So stay alive. Don't just like jump whatever off the bridge and say, that's it. See your world. Don't jump off the bridge. It's a wonderful life. And stay alive because, yeah, our bodies are in that point of being able to bioregenerate without med beds, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So get into the larger mansion, become empowered. And the empowerment is that you're like, you know, like when you're an adult, you can eat what you want, you can go to bed when you want, like here on earth in this world. When you're a child, someone tells you, this is how much you can eat and when, and this is when your bedtime is, and this is what you are to do. And then you're always like, moo, 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 like, I want to grow, I can't wait. And then I'm going to eat chicken nuggets whenever I want and go to bed at 10 p.m. And then you become an adult and you can eat chicken nuggets whenever you want and go to bed at 10 p.m. and later. And eat cartoons at the same time, like cartoons and stand up late and eat chicken nuggets. But this is also like cosmic becoming maturity also. So when you become cosmically more mature, you have greater levels of responsibility and self-responsibility and accountability, but also greater levels of freedom about like, well, yes, you can choose what you eat or let's say the realities you ingest, and you can be much more self-directed in the, you know, parameters that you set about your life, your experience and the quality of your life. Like, that's what you're supposed to experience. So I'm here to tell you, like, that's the level of expansive freedom and self-responsibility and accountability you want to go for. No shiny trinkets, nothing where it's like, what if they're just like, just drink this potion, it'll be bliss. Just lie back, darling, it'll be bliss. And you have to be like, no, like, I don't want to just live in a drugged out fantasy land. Like, I actually want to be intelligent and connected and have my SHIT together and get things done. So I think it's important not to fall into any of those, the traps that are like, anything that would zombify you, even in a comfortable way.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that's going to happen as we come out of the suppressed level? You think that trinkets are going to be offered as like treats and bribes to some extent?
I think that there's a variety of futures, but I never make a prediction about the future because the answer is the future is a set of swirling possibilities, and everything can happen, including spontaneous realities that don't exist right now, but will spontaneously self-generate in the moment before they pop into reality. So, like, you know, like, I'm not even going to tell you anything about what's going to happen tomorrow. The real answer is cosmic justice is being enforced, like cosmic law enforcement, and everybody is going to get exactly what they deserve. So that includes what we would say perpetrators, you know, here, those performing violences upon others, also the innocents, the victims who have had violence perpetrated upon them. But not everybody has the same reality endpoint. So get out of the anthropomorphic, because that's like just so boring for me to have to try to put it in that term. Let me go to the abstract. Imagine all of these lines that are timelines that are all converging to a central hub or a nexus point. That's tomorrow. And then from there, all of these timelines also reflect or bounce off or radiate outward. And so there's an overlapping moment, is what I'm trying to say, that you are going to co-experience the same overlapping moment with many, many other people who don't have the same end trajectory as you. That they're going to be in that moment, but they're heading off in this direction over here, and you're heading off in this direction over here. So the same scenery is being viewed by different participants and wildly interpreted, like the salience or the symbolic significance of what you're looking at is being wildly interpreted at different ends of the spectrum. Like if you see army men in Washington, D.C., these people going in this direction are interpreting it to mean it means blah, blah, blah. But if you see it over going in this direction, it means blah, blah, blah. You're seeing the same exact scene, but your intellectual overlays or the narrative story that you use to explain what's happening in reality is different. And, you know, we've been living this torturous existence up until this point where there's like the vaccinated versus the non-vaccinated, the mask wearers versus the non-mask wearers, like basically like the sane people versus the insane people. Whereas the sane means no vax, no mask, and you still have your marbles. This is what I'm trying to say. It's been very, very hard to live in the same reality with some of these other people, not just because they'll get on your case and talk to you about stuff or be like, wear a mask, blah, blah, but also like I find it hard just to be around them because they're thinking such crapola. Like, I tell you, stink lines. You know Pigpen from Charlie Brown, and he's got like those stink lines coming off of him. That's what a lot of people's psychic presence is like. Like, I know that they are tone deaf, they don't recognize it, or they're immune to their own smell at this point. But they're like that smelly guy in the library. Like, everyone can smell him, he can't smell himself. He needs to know. Someone needs to tell him, it's not you, Gary. I'm not, and I would never do it on public anything. I had to tell you this. It would always be private. And people have told that to me too. But I'm like natural. That's because I just used like the crystal, the armpit crystal. They had to tell me like the crystal's not working. But anyway, trying not to be too lighthearted because sometimes that can help, you know, to dispel some of the horror of what's going on. Some people are going to destruction. You got to accept that. Like you're in like a lemming race, and some people are like racing to the edge of the cliff, and you're like, me first, I want to jump over the edge. And they're like volunteering for vaccines and whatever. There's someone that I know just tangentially, but she's like, you know, whatever, a long term, she's from my hometown, like, you know, a long time, she's writing like, proudly, gonna get that vaccine. And I was just like, oh, I clutch my pearls. I'm so sorry to hear of the imminent demise of your soul. Like, adieu. May you good luck as you plummet downward. Like, I don't mean to sound horrible or anything like that, and I'm being a little bit overblown in my portrayal. That's how I kind of feel about it. Like, oh, like, the light switch gets turned off. Like, click, click. Okay, another one bites the dust. And that's, like, it's very sad. It is very, very sad. And I do have a little bit of gallows humor about it, but that's not how I feel. Like, people are not disposable. So it is sad. Every person who's getting their vaccine, I feel like,
You know what I think is a decent way to look at that whole phenomenon, though? The ones who take the vax. I think it's just, if it wasn't that, it's going to be something else. Like, the vax in and of itself is not so important. It's the fact that they've shunned, like, all these opportunities to, like, open the eyeballs up a fraction.
Valid point, definitely. Like, this is the end of their road, and the end of their road of mediocrity or compromise or crappiness, like eating Pringles. Like, Pringles, that's not even a potato chip. Like, that's a food substance that's not even really food. If you're going to eat something that's junky, like even just like regular potato chips, not Pringles.
You have beef against Pringles?
I do actually, because like a regular potato with salt and oil is not going to kill you. That's like decent food, just don't eat too much of it.
Mhm.
But Pringles, like I think that is like a deadly food, not even food. I think that it is a food-like substance. It should be avoided at all costs. is what I'm
Soylent
trying to
Green?
say. Yeah, and people will eat it though and enjoy it.
Hey, I eat Pringles from time to time. I'm not dead.
Yeah, it's an arrow in my heart. Dying.
My grandma used to buy me Pringles all the time.
Oh no! Well, you must atone then by eating like 3 small kale salads, and then you'll be okay. All right.
I got a bunch of kale in the fridge right now, Aurora. I'll balance
Good, good. Aurora approves. While you wash the kale and wash the silt off of the kale, you must say, Aurora Smith atoned with this salad.
it. Yeah. I am vindicated. Yeah, but also the other thing we were talking about this whole thing that's happening right now, and I was just saying like the anathema, is that a word? What does anathema mean? Like the thing that gets in the way of all these plans is like laughing and playing around and teasing and having a good time. Like if you see the general scope of what's being done, it's just trying to make people miserable. So just find out whatever is the opposite of that, engage in that behavior all the time, and you're energetically protected from all of it.
That's definitely my approach, and yeah, finding out what brings you to joy, what brings you to bliss, and what are the things that help you to stay in that whatever more elevated sense. And you're right, like because DNA is very much affected by our mood and how you're emotionally presenting. If you're constantly fearful and stressed out, your DNA has a particular look and behavior. So the beings that want to keep humanity limited, they want to keep you in like that survival mode, just like red chakra, lowest level of the consciousness ladder, and that just kind of keeps you just running on the hamster wheel, and like I've been there, and it's just like when you have like a limited amount of money and you're like, well, I need food, but I need dish soap too, like how am I going to balance these various responsibilities? No offense to anyone that's at that level of subsistence. Like I'm trying to tell you, like it is always it's an assault by like the matrix beings, because they can just as easily program in everybody has plenty of money for both food and dish soap, and you don't have to make those fraught choices like, oh my god, like a papaya costs this many dollars, but then I also need to buy this item over here, and garbage bags are $4. Like, we shouldn't have to. That's a very like minimal set of priorities. I'm not making fun of anyone, but I'm trying to tell you reprioritize, because when you turn upward to all of these higher dimensional chakras, you're like, I should be traveling the cosmos. You should be like Doctor Who, flying around in an interdimensional portal vehicle, not quibbling over exactly how many dollars the papaya costs at the store, because they can be expensive. Like they're kind of big, and it can be like $7, and you have to think, do I want to invest $7 in a whole giant papaya, or these you should be flying the cosmos.
Yeah, I think we can aim higher. But I mean, a lot of people have been used to survival mode, so that is going to be a step that a lot of people are just going to have to like get used to.
You need to rehabilitate. Like if you have a broken ankle, then you have to strengthen it. So definitely, people need their consciousness and psychology to rehabilitate. That if you're in an abundance world, that you can afford the papaya, you can also buy the garbage bags, and you can manage to pay the rent also. But I recognize that wasn't my reality for many, many years. It may not be other people's reality too. This is part of why we need to restructure society. And I'm not talking about a universal basic income. I'm talking about like an unfettered abundance system. That nothing that we've been experiencing up until this point is unfettered. It's all very artificial. So when I've spoken about things that are now quite openly known, like sexual abuse is used as an economy of misery, and some people get a cute gig, and some people get, the worst gig, and you're like, whatever. But flipping burgers, working in the worst job, pushing a mop and, mopping the floor somewhere. And that none of that is fair. Like, it's supposed to be that if you have intelligence and willpower and work hard and you want to do a job, like, you can get ahead. Like, the American dream and all of that propaganda type stuff. But it hasn't been that way for a long time, if it ever has been that way. So it is time for a radical restructuring of society. I know that this is what seems appealing about Bitcoin, that people think, well, wait, I can buy an ant miner, I can set it up in my basement, and then I can mine the Bitcoin. I have my own private stash, right? There's like a insouciance to it, because you can be kind of like, F you, society, I'm mining my own Bitcoin because you can't like print your own money. I mean, it used to be that you need to grow herb, and that's kind of like growing money, right? But now things are very, very different. Like, so the idea of like mine your own Bitcoin, having freedom from government, and being able to just have your own stash or whatever. But I think that that's the trap. Like, it looks like very appealing and like it's a force for freedom, but then you get judo flip-flopped, and then it turns into actually being very controlled, because I found like the weak node is definitely things like Coinbase, that if I want to buy or sell some type of crypto, that I try to log in, but I can't log in. Like, you have to identify yourself. I'm like, what? You have to wait 45 hours and identify myself? I'm like, but wait, everything will change. Like, in the crypto world, everything will change in 48 hours. And then you want to buy this? No, you're not allowed to buy this. Your account, it's not authorized to buy this. Why am I not? Who do I talk to about this? And then one time I had a thing where they didn't give me a thing that I was supposed to have. This way back with Bitcoin Cash before. I learned a lot of naughty lessons. And basically, there's no one you can complain to. Like, it's a space where you kind of are like taking your lumps. It's like bare knuckle fight club. And if you get hit in the nose, like, you're just gonna get hit in the nose, and that's what's gonna happen. So
you just gotta hit the guy back. That's all you gotta do.
That is it. And I am not really much of a tussler, which is why I currently do not own any Bitcoin, because I'm severely mistrustful of the whole space, and that's what you hear in me. Like, everybody do what you gotta do on yourself. But for me, I feel like, at first I thought, this would keep everybody would be free. But then I'm like, this ain't really making nobody free. And it just is, I think, as artificially controlled as the currency that's in countries. So, and then I could see that it could be very, like, selective if they said, well, what do you need to do to access your Bitcoin to translate it into spendable dollars or something like that? If they made you jump through identity groups or something like that, then it's just as bad as what Coinbase does to me. If they're like, no, prove your identity before this transaction. Like,
how do you do it though? What do you have to do?
You have to upload some kind of a document, like your driver's license or something like that. But it's like, I should already be approved. Why is this giving me a problem? Because it just wants to give me problems. It is naughty. Yeah, but what would that be like if I was relying upon that? You can tell I'm getting stressed out even talking. I learned my lesson. And also, never, whatever, risk any more than you're willing to lose. Like, I'm no good with loss. I'm like, but I had this much, now this much. This is terrible. This is terrible.
Yeah, don't go throw all your money in crypto.
No, definitely not. No, I'm way more like, I invest in art supplies. I'm about to get, like, all new, like the pigment. I get these concentrated pigments that I then use in media. So like a little bottle of orange like this will work for a long time. So I haven't bought my paints for many years, but I'm about to like stock up on there. Like, that's what I consider a solid investment.
Exactly.
Cobalt violet and whatever, phthalo green, yellow.
Invest in more things that will help you to create things and to be happy, basically. I think a lot of people are just addicted to the sort of game that you play with your bank account. Most Americans, as far as I know, at least back when I looked at the statistics, like 70 or 80% of them were living paycheck to paycheck, which means they're getting like hooked into that feeling of, my check is here. Okay, go spend all my check. And then, okay, gotta stop spending. It's like it's a constant cycle that happens every 1 week or every 2 weeks. And I think people get addicted to that, and they think more, they get like sucked into that mind of like barely on the edge, because it's kind of exciting too. And then they don't really think so much about necessarily, how do I actually wish to be spending my time, and do I want to be doing this sort of repetitive? I had to pull myself out of that mindset as well.
Right. I was walking around today and I was thinking like something simple, like, the way it used to be many years ago. You said, I want to be like whatever, an eye doctor. Like you went to school, you be an eye doctor, you get your diploma, you hang out a shingle, say, my name is an eye doctor, come get your eyes checked, and then you have like a little business or whatever. I want to be a grocer, I want to be a this or that. And you do it, and you're able to do that is a manageable dream. It's not like saying, I want to like levitate or whatever. I want to kill dragons for my, like those are not as practical in application, but these other things are achievable dreams. And I'm really noticing like it hasn't been that way for a very long time. It's not just that the American dream is a fantasy and this idea that, you can, with good stick-to-itiveness, just make all the money that you possibly want, but that there used to be like clear pathways to professional success, and there are not those clear pathways anymore. There haven't been either for like 20 or 30 years. So it's this question, most people are just trying to find a little niche, like whatever you can do to make money. It's not like a career trajectory. It's just kind of like just find like a little platform. Like if I do this, then I can make this much, and then I can manage to have a toehold here. And like how much you can make is never in alignment with how much rents keep going up in your area. So like, I'm trying to say the system is rigged. It is very, very heavily weighted against you, the individual. And if you're a millennial person, if you're someone who's 20 or younger, like you've never experienced the fair playing field. You've never experienced what it's like to actually have real opportunities, real educational opportunities, real living, working opportunities, real earning opportunities. Like all of that is gone. And now it's just like trying to find a little tiny, whatever, like toe ledge, like, on those like crevasses, just try a little toe ledge. Like you can't even get your whole foot on the ledge, but just half of your foot on the ledge and just stay on your toe ledge. And that's like what you're talking about, how most people manage their financial affairs. And whatever, I don't know what is going on with other people. I won't speak for anyone else except for me. I've always been an artist, and I've always been kind of like, hand to mouth and very up and down. It depends on sales and all sorts of completely, I used to be considered like the whatever, like unstable, like I didn't have financial stability, but like, nice, good, whatever, whatever. I'm a real estate agent or some, someone who's really making their money every day for sure. But everything changed in 2020, that all of those safe jobs turned out to be not so safe, things that turned out to be non-essential. And I think much more what I saw was people rising and falling upon your fortunes reflecting your personal fortunes. So in 2020, what I did, the first half of the year was very bumpy because, like I said, I rely upon sales of like other people to buy my artwork or my clothing or whatever, and everyone else struggling. People were not buying extra stuff like a decorative, scarf or something like that. Like that's just not what you're going to focus on. So the first half of the year challenging, but the second half of the year much better because what I did was I believed in myself, and I just was like, I'm just going to write music, throw everything else out the window. Any other cares and concerns are secondary. I wrote a ton of music. I put it all out there on places like Apple Music and SoundCloud. And so the second half of my year got much better, but that was only because I kind of, found the fire within to believe in myself and start a new project. And that's what I would say to everybody. Like, the world is falling down, but if you can have self-generated projects, things that you make and that you are responsible for, go for it. And I think that the cosmos will meet you halfway. Because I was very surprised. I didn't know if my music would get out there, if it would be algorithmically suppressed, all of these things. I was just very much like going on faith. And I was very, very happily surprised that it was, time and effort well spent. Not just like if you do a project and like, becomes obscure and then it just doesn't go anywhere. But it's like, like
the feeling of just flop and there's like nothing you can do about it.
Yes, or just a quiet thump. Just a quiet thump.
I still feel like it's always determined by the individual. It's just always determined by the individual. Yes. And if you outsource your sort of like permissions to anything out there, like most of the things out there are just parasitic entities, and they'll just take your money or your energy, and they won't give you almost anything in return, and it's just complete waste. So you gotta do it yourself. Figure out what you want to do, and just go and do it. It's not necessarily easy in this environment or this climate, and we know how all the family things have happened. Most people's families are just like going through identity crisis right now, trying to figure out, because if you haven't done anything in terms of looking at what's going on to this point, then the whole world has to look fully insane, or else you're just like shaking and trembling because a pandemic is going on. Like, what are your other options besides those?
I'll go further. I will say that the dichotomy that we see in society, the schism that's in many families, whether you believe in the COVID narrative and mask wearing, and whether or not you believe in things like systemic child abuse and Pizzagate and sexual slavery and things like that, I think it's because there are a lot of family dynamics that are unhealthy that need to heal. So if you're in a family where it's like, half of the family believes that no one has ever raped her, like Joe Biden never raped anybody, and the COVID is a very real deadly disease, and you have to wear a mask and get tested before you get together on Thanksgiving, versus the beings that say, no, Biden is corrupt, and the, numbers are fraudulent, it's not a contagious disease, and, that's a schism in the family. That these aren't just randomly assigned roles. Do you understand? Like, if you have groups that are adversarial in a social dynamic like a family, it's like, why is it mom, whatever, I'm choosing random people, but like the family number 1 plus 2 against family number 3
You're saying, like, you're
4.
talking about like handlers, like what do you call it? Like arranged situations, like adversarial.
Not even someone who works for the government, just these unhealthy family dynamics that are meant to protect abuse and protect abusers from accountability. So in families, there's
like the narcissist dynamic.
Unhealthy behavior that goes on that no one wants to talk about. And those are the same people that don't want to talk about stuff, that want to wear masks. Like, get it? They don't want to talk about stuff. They want to wear masks. They want to watch the news. They want to believe in their elected leaders, right? And now there's this giant gulf between these two sides. And then there's the other side that's like, we need to actually clear house. We need to actually talk about these things so that we can heal and change and go forward as individuals, as a whole entire country, and as the world and everything like that. Like, this is what is actually happening and unfolding right now in this world. So, there's the array of all the different directions you can go. There's one very, very clear trajectory that's for people who actually want to do like the inner healing, the inner rectification, and the healing on a soul level, so that like you're not carrying around baggage and you're actually free. Like, there's a whole trajectory, like soul healing, now boarding, this direction, right. Soul healing, hello, welcome, please come again. Have a lovely flight. That's exactly what it is. And then there are people that are like, soul healing, oh no, like, comfortable denial, now running in this direction. Please scurry in this direction for comfortable denial. But the comfortable denial is just like literally jumping off a cliff. That's literally being a lemon. Because there's no there's no reality. They think like, I will just cower in a new reality where I will not face any accountability or have to learn at all. And like, you can't do that. They've done that. That's how they ended up here in this reality. They're like, I will go to a new reality where I will never have to face accountability for my crimes. And I continue in the same bad habits that I've always ever done before and never change. Yeah! But no, they can't do that anymore here. They're like, I'll make a new one. No, that's the whole point. No, like when I say like, I used to be a live-in nanny, and sometimes you have to get tough and be like, no more bedtime stories. No, now it is time for going to bed. No more pocket world realities where you can evade the, crimes that you have done and the consequences of your crimes. You actually have to face those consequences. So that's what you guys are going to see in the very near future. Consequences on every single scale. From a galactic scale, because there's a lot of naughty things that have been going on in the terms of like galactic level civilization. Remember where I came from as Aurora before I came into this body. Things are effed up at that level of society. Everything is not okay up there. And rectification at that level rectification at this level, but I'm telling you, you don't just want the hand puppets to go to jail. You don't just want to have justice for whoever are the hand puppets of evil. If it's like, oh, whatever, I ran the CIA and I'm a hand puppet for evil, be like, okay, I'm gonna throw you in jail for forever. But then you just have a hand puppet who should face accountability, but like, who was running the show? Like, there's a much, much larger systemic evil that we need to approach effectively, not just the many heads of Hydra and cut them all off and send them to prison or do whatever you're going to do. So we as a society, we need that level of, it's a satisfaction. You know, like when you watch a movie, what's catharsis? Catharsis is from ancient Greek drama. And ancient Greek drama, they would set up these plays, like in an amphitheater, and you would watch, and you would, even though you knew it was fake, get really, really into it. And it could be a struggle, or it could be whatever, or it could be somebody dies. And the point is, you end up feeling it, and then when they die or when the thing happens, you cry. It's catharsis. It's an emotional release. Build up, and in a theatrical sense, build up and then emotional release. And that is what humanity and individuals need right now. We need catharsis because there's been this buildup of a need for justice, systemic corruption, individual corruption. Like, you know, we started to find out things like gymnastics coaches. Like, you cannot trust gymnastics coaches. You got little girls in leotards. Any place where that's happening, like things that you would think are rather innocent and whatever, all of a sudden, all of these things started to come out. So, you know, I'm talking about like over the past 4 years, like there's in corruption in politics, but then there's also in sports, and then there's also like no place is safe. That's correct. No place is safe. And you have to watch kids on the playground 24 hours all the time. You can't let them out of your sight. And even like, I didn't have children when I walked past the playground, like I watched protectively over the children to make sure everything is okay. Yeah. There was one kid crying today. And I was like, okay, like, where's this kid, Mom? What's going on? Like, you know, I started to get a little bit upset, and then I waited to make sure Mom came over. Yeah. I don't know what Mom was doing, but her kid was crying.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I feel like the kids deserve it the most, and they probably have not been protected enough. And not only the kids and whoever has been in camps or underground or whatever, all of the people who are being trafficked, all of the sex crimes, like, we know that the thing is rife with corruption, top to bottom, and not only to add insult to injury, they're all gaslighted and done the narcissistic dynamic where they're told that they're the problem via multiple things, including mainstream religion. But all of this, that in and of itself, I think, is giving rise to the catharsis that is needed for all of these people who have been just beat on just for however long in this place. It's definitely necessary.
There's catharsis on that level, on, you know, misery and abuse, exploitation. There's also now, though, the victimization that happened over the past year, where if you did not believe in the official narrative of a contagious virus or that masks are effective against there, and community members constantly, like, you know, castigated you because you weren't complying or whatever, that's new levels of abuse that now we have to deal with because you're, you know, used to being verbally and psychologically abused by your community members by telling you that you're wrong when you're actually the one person that's right, and they all are the ones that are wrong. So you know, whatever, where I live, everybody wears a mask, and it's very compliant, even though when you're outside exercising, you don't have to wear a mask. And like, they walk past me and they put on a mask while they're walking past me, and then they take it off. I know, like, they really do that.
It's offensive, isn't it? Like, to see someone do that, is that not super offensive?
Totally.
They think like you're a walking pile of germs or something.
I know. They think I am being such a good citizen by covering my face, that I'm protecting other people and showing them I care. And I've said to a couple of people, like, oh, nonsense, dear. Like, I didn't say it that way, but I was just like, oh, don't worry about that mask. Like, there's one little place where I walk with my dog, and you have to go around to the corner. It's like a little pedestrian walkway. And you're kind of close to the other people coming the other way. And this one young woman is coming the other way. She's putting on her mask. And I kind of pish-posh. Yeah, I was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. You're fine. And she looked at me fearfully, put on her mask and put in her earbuds too. She was like, I'm not even going to listen to you.
She might contaminate me through the ears too. I probably should close my eyes as well.
Totally. I'm spreading COVID through your eyeballs. Sure, watch out. You're going to get COVID through your eyeballs, everyone.
That's what Fauci was saying, right?
I am responsible for the outbreaks in Ventura County. I take full responsibility every day. I walk several miles with my dog wearing these colorful rainbow outfits, and I'm just shooting the COVID rays off of my clothes. I'm like Alex Jones right now. Like, there's COVID rays coming off of your clothes.
We've been doing some walks. There's a ton of nice trails around here, and I've just been keeping like a mental tabulation of like what % are wearing masks and what % aren't. And I think on the last one, I think it was 50+% out, like miles from civilization, like miles from the nearest road. 50+% were wearing masks out there on the trail. Wide open skies, trees everywhere, like prairie dogs and a nice breeze, and they're just like, that was mind-boggling.
There's a lot of indoctrination that has happened. So look, like when people used to get rescued from a cult, like, whatever, some kind of a mind control group, they would be brought to like a hotel or something like that. They would get deprogrammed. You get duct taped to a chair, and your deprogrammer tells you that everything that cult leader that's been telling you, it's not true. Like, you're not gonna, if you eat green jello, you will not ascend and fly up to Mars. Like, it's not true, it's not true. And then they'll show you videos, like, here's your cult leader. He says eat only green jello, but he is eating red jello. Don't trust him, don't trust him. Well, I'm trying to say, we need that level of deprogramming for our whole entire society at this point. We need to duct tape everyone to their chairs and pop open their eyeballs and give them lots of caffeine injections, and then just show them, like, there was no Russian collusion. It was a hoax. Masks don't protect you against a virus. There is no virus. Like, all these things just over and over and over. And then if they're like, stay 6 feet away, be like, no, stay 6 feet away is a hoax. It's designed to read your energy signature. And then they'll finally just be like, their shoulders slump, and they'll just be like, anything, like, I'll tell you anything, just let me go. And be like, now you're ready to join real reality. Like, you can't just, like, they can't just be fantasizing. I'm offended by their level of personal fantasizing. They need to join reality. They need to join reality, and I'm the person to do it. And there might be, no, I'm joking.
Though, it's kind of funny with all of these people that are wearing masks and running around are kind of showing their hand at their own level of power of manifestation, because you would think with that much fear running around that it would literally placebo a giant pandemic into place, and then it's not even happening. Like, they're not doing anything with all of their fear. I don't get it. It's very strange.
And it's very weird. And in my town, there are still some lingering stickers that people put up on different telephone poles or whatever from protests where they were wearing masks that said, I can't breathe. And I found it difficult, even though it was only not even a full year ago, to remember the whole social saga of what it was. So, like, first we had a supposed virus that precipitated we have to wear masks. But then there was a man who was strangled. That was why there were protests where they said they can't breathe. So the protests that said we can't breathe were not actually about the masks, but now people are protesting saying they can't breathe with the masks. Like, I'm trying to say, like, if you were an archaeologist or you were an anthropologist from Mars and came to my town, and you were like, oh, look, there are stickers here that show people wearing a mask that says, I can't breathe on it. So it is because they are against the mask, against the... I'm like, no, that was because of a man that was suffocated. That was not because of the viral contagion that was making them so that they can't breathe. Like, it's so convoluted. You can't even keep it straight. And I don't even know if anybody's able to, like, remain sober and keep it straight. Like, I'm trying. I don't know if you can.
I just try not. It's funny to me. It's appearing funny to me. I can't help but look at it any other way. It's not even that funny, actually. It's really bad written comedy. Very badly written comedy.
It's tragic comic. So in the ancient Greece world, if things started out sad but ended up funny, that's comedy. And if things started out funny and it's sad, that's a tragedy. So we're in a comedy. We're just waiting for it to get funny. Yeah, we definitely had the tragedy part, but just not the comedy part yet. We're waiting for that.
Yeah, we need the funny part to come around. Or just like the part where it's like, okay, we're done playing the artificial scarcity game, and now we're going to play the abundance game, and let's go, everybody have fun. I'm waiting for that,
Right.
you know, like...
That, see, we should be experiencing that, but just don't fall into the trap, which would be like a universal basic income or some technology-driven thing where it's like, as long as you mine your bitcoins, then you can have as many, days off as you want to. Like,
No, I know it's not like that, and it's much more like the collective energy is uplifted enough to do that. It's like, we were also talking about this, like what's it called? What's that called, Andrew? That thing. I can never remember anything. In the never-ending story. The nothing. It's like the nothing, right?
Yes.
That thing that we're experiencing now is a nothing of sorts, and for us to not be feeling the pull of that, the collective consciousness has to, I know it's cliche to say, but it has to vibrate faster and be more energetic and be happier, more uplifted, and spread positivity. It sounds silly, but I know that's how it actually works.
Does not sound silly at all, and that's a really great movie, Never-Ending Story, and you can't be mired in the swamps of despair. Remember Atreyu and his horse, and they're sinking down and feeling worse and worse. You cannot get mired in the swamps of despair, and you have to somehow feel happier and get better and get out of it and continue onward. So, yeah, a great, like, I think in retrospect, when you look back on this experience, what we did here, on Earth in this world, a lot of it is very much like a walk of faith, but what I mean by that is like believing in something before you do it. Like, in my example is, I believed in myself as a musician before I wrote the music. I'm like, I'm going to sit down and write this music. Like, I had to believe that I could do it before I did it, then wrote all the music, and that, of course, backed up my belief. So now I can point to it and say, look, here's all the songs. Like, I really did write all of that. But the initial first steps before I had done it, I felt like a little bit saucy. Like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. No, I'm a musician. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and they're like, I am a musician, and I just did it. And you get better by doing it. And then the more that you do it, the more that you can do it. And then
that's literally that's all it is. Like,
yes.
I study chess a lot, play chess a lot, right? And I'm in a couple of groups, and every single day someone's coming on there and saying, how do I get better? What books should I look at? Like, who can I hire as a coach? There are all the same questions, and it's never anything other than, like, study every single day. If you love the game, you'll study it every single day, and you will get stronger. You won't be able to help yourself from getting stronger. You won't be able to stop getting stronger if you do that. But it's like everybody got so caught up in the model that was taught with education, which is like, hurry up and wait 10 years, and then you'll eventually get started on your life. That whole model is garbage. It's such garbage. Just go do the thing immediately.
Yeah, and I'm big on, like, you don't have to know everything or have all the muscle power to do the thing. You get the muscles by doing it. So if I was like, I'm going to wait to have all of my muscles, then I will start doing my push-ups. Like, no, that you get the muscles by even doing a little baby push-up on your knees.
You look in the mirror every single day, you're like, is it getting big enough for me to start doing push-ups yet?
Totally,
I think it's getting bigger. Okay, I can start in a couple days.
Totally. So with songwriting or something like that, it's like, okay, like maybe the first song that you write is not the best song, but it is a song, and then that's like the first push-up that you ever did, and then the next one you do gets better and better. So there were many songs that I wrote that were just like, that was just my exercise for the day, and I learned something about it, but it was not a great masterpiece. But then doing it more and more, it gave me more ability, and then I wrote stuff that I actually liked and wanted to keep and share with other people.
How long have you been making music? You said it was just within the last year?
No. Well, I started to teach myself piano back in 2008. Okay. And that was like, up until that point, I had a great love of music, but no formal musical training and no access to instruments. And it was like a comment from a random stranger that was encouraging me to play piano because I have long fingertips. That I was like, I have always wanted to play the piano. Like, that's the point. You never know, like, one little offhanded remark, how it might really affect someone else. But it really affected me that this person encouraged me. And I was like, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And I thought about it a lot more. And then I still have my electric piano right here. But for me, it was a huge investment back then. It was $300. And I was like, for $300, like I'm like in the cartoons with the dollar signs in the eyes, like $300, like it seemed an insurmountable amount and such a huge goal, but I did it, and then that was like again the believing in yourself part. So I believed in myself enough to actually get an instrument and start to play, and then from there it was just like a very long time of like learning to play by ear and figuring out chords and things like that. Like I did not have a regular musical education at all.
Yeah. We're hearing bangs outside. We want to make sure the Armageddon's not kicking off early.
Yeah, totally. We are having a crazy windstorm right now. We've been having it for like the past 24 hours, and it's not hot Santa Ana winds, just really strong gusts. And I'm really hoping that we maintain our electricity because sometimes they turn it off like preventatively. Because I'm like really curious about what's going to happen in the world tomorrow, and I'm not usually so stuck on my computer or whatever, but if like I just want to know, what if I just don't have electricity? I would just meditate and fly rainbow lasagna. But I'm very, very curious to watch and see what's going to happen in time. Worlds will collide, timelines will diverge, sparks will fly. Tune in tomorrow to see what will happen on Earth. Episode 2021.
Is there like a thing? Is it just the whole day? Is there like a? Do we have to tune into something, or? I don't think I should.
I don't know what the schedule is. I did read that there's supposed to be an inauguration ceremony that traditionally takes place sometime around noon. But I've heard all sorts of different things.
Sometime around 3? Noon.
Noon East Coast time is going to be earlier for the West Coast.
Okay.
So that will be earlier, like 9 o'clock my time, or 10 o'clock your time.
Did you listen to Trump's nothing speech today?
No, I didn't, but I'm aware of it. Like I keep abreast of all these different things that's going on. I will just tell you, like, I can't dictate anybody else's reality or interpretation of reality to them, but I've got my own interpretation of reality that I feel is bringing me into the vestibule of a larger, more expanded reality. So we will see, but I also feel like this. From the past week or 2 weeks or so, like, we were expecting a lot of stuff that would have been the nanny poo-poo moment. Like, we were waiting for this declassification of Obamagate stuff that would have been the moment when you could be like, nanny poo-poo. Like, I was right, you were wrong, I put it in your face. And they delayed those paperwork. It's supposed to come out tomorrow at noon, like, just as Trump is leaving the presidency. That, I think, it's like worthy emotional energy, because this is all occult, emotional magic. So you understand that there's like a huge torrent of that nanny poo-poo stuff. Like, whatever, like, try to be kind, like, when things happen, like, because just remember, like, if the situation had been, if Biden were elevated to power, I think that there would be great retribution on Trump supporters. Just keep that in mind, that they would have been treated very, very violently or unkindly or whatever. And I think that what will happen, you won't have to be gloating. I think that it won't be necessary because, like, I didn't make predictions about the future, but I'll just tell you this. There is something bigger driving the car than just humans or even, little evil aliens. There's something much bigger driving the actual bus here, and the bus is going in some very interesting directions.
I agree. It's definitely interesting, and we got actual bag of popcorn yesterday, so we're prepared.
You have snacks. I have snacking materials, smoking materials, everything that I need. Like, I have, whatever. I laid in all of my supplies, like all of my essential jerky, long-term cabinet supplies and everything like that.
Yeah, we have done the same thing.
But you know what I also feel like the real food insecurity times were last year and the earlier part of the year. And I feel like food insecurity was in the sense that the evil ones or the wicked, ones that want to cause a lot of misery, they were trying to sabotage the food supply and plow under all those potatoes. Remember all of those things to manufacture a food shortage. Mm-hmm. That manufactured food shortage did not happen. So like I had done things like I had planted a lot of garden stuff, and I actually still have some potatoes that I call them like my end of the world potatoes. But the point is, I didn't have to eat my end of the world potatoes. Everything was fine in there. I'm trying to tell you, like, we have transcended a lot of those nodes, like those branches of possibilities, where that's not what's going to happen anymore. So I do not feel like, oh my God, I better get out there and get 6 months worth of dried rice and beans together because it's going to be like that. We're in a different level of reality now where in order to survive, what you need to do is really embrace whatever is your true purpose of being alive on Earth. And your true purpose is more than just like having toilet paper and having beans. Like you do more than just eating and pooping. Like who are you? Who are you really? So for me, like over the past year, I got new musical software and musical hardware because those are things that it's my essential apocalypse equipment. It's not camping gear. It's not cooking beans over a forest fire. It is making music because that brings me in the direction timelines of who I'm actually supposed to be doing, the things I'm actually supposed to be doing. So a person who's very practical would be like, Aurora, that software is a stupid thing to buy money on. Get a camp stove, because then at least you can cook your beans over it. And I'm like, no, getting the music equipment is practical because that, in a sense, is going to take me further in reality creation than merely cooking food. Cooking food is important and good, though, don't get me wrong. But you understand, like, we all, at this moment, we all have to inspire. We all have to be like, let's go for the best realities where we not only have food and toilet paper, but we also get to follow our dreams of whatever are your dreams, whatever is your thing. I think Andre's been doing a beautiful job of embracing our artistry and making, items and being able to, commodify them and sell them.
She's been
That's
doing
beautiful.
Great.
Good for her.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go do something fun. Like I say, take whatever you think is happening tomorrow. Make yourself okay with possible outcomes, like we went through. At least like conceptually, what possibilities. Make yourself okay with it, and then just let go of it and do what you do during the day. Don't let it like pull you out of your own like personal space. Don't let it because that's the main purpose, is to draw all of us out and we release all of our power on manifesting what we wish to see here by doing that.
And that's why it's so important to have a practice, like whatever you do every day. If you do your Tai Chi or your martial arts, like what do? Time to make the donuts. Make the donuts. Do what you do every day, even if it's a weird day.
And they have been weird. I mean, I think I comment on how weird the time is, like, once or twice a day. It's just like, this place is just weird in general. Like, this whole realm is very strange.
That's you do not want the status quo, because the status quo is totally unsupportable. So you want to see signs of change. You want to feel weirdness or out of sorts or whatever. Sometimes I feel like I'm in that I'm in a motel feeling or hotel. Like I'm sure if you have ever traveled or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes you're like, I'm just sitting in this room for several hours until I go to the next place. Like you're in a reality hotel or a pocket world hotel. Like I am just in this reality for several hours until I go to where I'm actually supposed to go. Like I feel those feelings. Sometimes I feel a sense of deja vu or time slippage. And then when I'm doing that, then I'm like, let's do the time warp again. Like do the time warp. Like I go with it. It's like, okay, like it's a slip and slide. Like one of those kids' toys. Like slip and slide through time. Okay, cool. And to be lighthearted about it, like I'm not a lobotomized idiot, I'm lighthearted about it. But what we're doing is serious, interdimensional, time traveling type stuff.
Yes. I think one of the main things that signifies these types of events is like, as soon as you put out possibilities in words, like such and so is gonna do this, such and so is gonna do that, such and so faction is gonna come, you're immediately erasing the possibility of any of those things happening.
Definitely,
So, like,
I think it's true.
Just realize that it is gonna be unexpected.
Yeah.
And I don't mean necessarily what happens tomorrow. I just mean in general, our trajectory through this realm overall is just made of unexpected things happening, and that's usually how the good things come in.
That is what flying rainbow lasagna is, and there's a type of encryption that happens. Like, if you are spontaneous, then your enemy can't anticipate you, and you fuck you before you get there. Like, it's good to be spontaneous in that way. So I think that's what I think is going to happen tomorrow. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, press the giant red button. It's the infinite improbability drive, and the most unlikely thing happens. I think everyone, just be prepared. Watch the infinite improbability drive, be engaged, and see what happens as the greatest unlikelihood unfold.
Just try to remain curious.
That's right.
We've lost a lot of our sort of innocent curiousness, just being, like my cat. Like, he's so amazed at every single thing in the house, and he wants to get on everything, in everything, over everything, under everything. If one new physical item comes and sits on the floor, he knows that that's there. He knows that that's new. He needs to explore every aspect of it.
Yes.
And that, we need to embrace more of that, because we're the ones. At the highest levels, we are the ones that are helping hold this shit together in place in a retarded way. So we need to relax a little bit and let some other things come in.
That's right. At a certain point, this is supposed to be a fun, artistic exercise, not a grim death march. So we're supposed to be wow, I'm in this creation. I made the creation, but I'm experiencing the creation, and now I get to change the creation. It should be a fun, cool, stress-free, expansive experience, but it's been this very uncomfortable, nightmarish experience for a long time. What I feel like we're going into is a transitionary period, or when animals get taken off of a farm and they've been harmed a lot and everything like that. They go into a nice barn where they kind of fix up your hooves and give you proper nutrition, whatever. That is literally what humanity needs right now. Many humans don't even get proper nutrition or minerals in their diet. Guys, you need minerals, you need structured water, you need to have a parasite cleanse, get rid of all the crapola, basic body stuff, but then also psychological stuff. You need to be cleansed of the abuse that you've endured in making it through to this point. I feel that's what we're going to experience now, and that also includes a collective purge of real justice. When you really see the evildoers get their their rewards, their evil is reflected back to them. There's a type of healing that happens in that sense. It's not that you can't you can be happy and whole even if you never see your attacker's head chopped off.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, there is some type of healing that happens when you see the guy that whatever raped or harmed you. You see his head chopped off and blood spurts out like a fountain. You're yes, I now have closure. That feels really good. So
Exactly.
Humanity needs the equivalent of that, because humanity has been abused repeatedly by these politicians, by these entertainment figures, by these big business people. And I think that there's this populist sentiment. Again, I'm not trying to advocate for your physical guillotining, but the sense of everybody should get what they effing deserve. Mm-hmm. And when you see that happen, you're yeah, that feels right.
Yep. I'm all for it. I mean, we both know that there are beings that are trying to run away from accountability, even to the point of trying to insert their shit into another being and act like it wasn't their deal. There's a lot of dumb shit going on. Yeah.
Right? A new pocket world. I'll make a new personality in a new pocket world, and no one will ever know. It's put on a mustache, no one will ever recognize me. Right. And then I'll go keep on doing the same evil shit. That's what they've been doing for so long. They're used to it. But when people are on drugs and they're just give me $5, man, it's the last one. It's always the last one, right? That the personality characteristic of this psychopathic AI type of thing that we're dealing with It's just like that drug, that Dave Chappelle, like, white-lipped guy, like, one more, man, one more. It's just like that comedy skit that it is always ready for one more. It's always an excuse. It's always a justification. But at a certain point, you have to set a boundary about what you will experience, and the answer is no more. The answer should have been no more, like, whatever, many, many millennia or many, many injustices ago. Mm-hmm. So, like, you're coming into a time of total justice, but just also remember that means accountability for yourself, too. Like, I really love my dog. She's sitting right over there and everything like that. I feel like any little thing that I do is, like, so under a microscope, because I try to live to a really high standard for her. I was in the drugstore. I had to buy, like, a stupid thing at the drugstore, and I hate the vibe there. It's very vibe down, like, at this place where you gotta go. So my dog was in there with me, and I was feeling agitated, and she was feeling agitated, and we were standing in a long line, and I have to wear the stupid face mask, and my dog kept on, like, vocalizing, and, like, kind of, like, being a nudge or whatever. And I just said to her, like, hey, cool it. And this little lady was in line, and she saw the thing happen, and she was like, oh, like, she was appalled, like, oh, like, you were mean, like, I was like, I'm out of patience.
Oh my God.
Totally, it was like my one bad low moment, but that was what she imprinted on, thinking that that's what it's all about and everything. And I didn't even say anything that bad, but it's just like when you're scolding your kid and someone sees it and they think you're a terrible parent. Like, I'm not a bad parent. We are just having a moment. And this is after a whole whatever saga or whatever. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, thank you. You understand. You're a parent.
Yeah, I know how it goes. And also, there's absolutely nothing wrong with disciplining your children.
Setting healthy boundaries shows I love you. Yes.
We have to discipline our freaking animals daily, multiple times per day.
Cheeky and I we negotiate a lot, and the negotiations usually involve me paying her with food for, like, being well behaved in a store. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bribery system.
It is totally bribery, and protect me if I ever run out. I keep them, like, in a little holster, a little bag, and I cut them into little tiny pieces. If I ever run out during the day, Cheeky is like, oh, if there's no more bribes, F this, I'm going wild. And then she is, like, bonkers all over the place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's how it works.
That's right. We have a very clear relationship.
I saw her in the background. Is she still back there?
Yeah, she's that's her little dog chair, which I found not in the trash, but next to a trash when I lived across town, and brought it home for free. And then I turned it over and I saw there's a label underneath it that says, originally in the store for $700. And we got it from next to the trash.
Ah.
I know. Thank you. That's just random, but thank you for something with me.
I got my bicycle from next to the dumpster.
That's it. See, next to the dumpster, that is like the good shopping zone.
Yeah. In the dumpster is a little different.
It is not good. That's it. I would not have gotten something upholstered if it was in the actual dumpster.
What if it's in the dumpster but it's halfway out?
It depends on whether it is a porous surface. If it's something that can be washed with peroxide, I will consider it. But also, I do not want to have to get me into any dumpster. It doesn't matter how good the thing is. I don't want to have to get me, because there are some smells that just come inside.
So if you don't have to climb in and it can be cleaned, and it's halfway out at least, then you'll grab it.
Yeah, that's good. And it also depends on whether if it's something that I truly, truly need, or something that just seems mildly interesting. Like, I wouldn't dive in if it was only mildly interesting, but I often find just good stuff just kind of like sitting there. I found a food dehydrator just kind of sitting there. And I look around and I'm like, I'm not stealing this, right? Like, this really is just right here, right? But I live in that type of a town where people just put something out and they just, kind of let people take what they need.
Yeah,
so that's,
why not?
I know.
We've found so many things just on free Facebook groups around here. Like, we haven't had to pay for almost anything, and I don't know, like, I feel like this whole thing just needs to be kind of done with. Like, someone needs something, go get it. Someone else needs something, go give it to them. Super simple.
Yeah, totally, totally. Like what we can have is different rules for public versus private property. So it's not total communism where you say that there's no boundaries and you can come in here and like take my microphone, like take my lamp. Like no, you're having these things. I need these things. But it's the idea of like, you know, if you have scooters or bicycles or things that whatever, a fruit picker. Like in my neighborhood here, everybody has lemon and orange trees in their backyards. I guess just normal because that's part of what this was like before they built houses here. We should just have a fruit picker for the neighborhood, like, you know, one of those long poles. Like, you don't have to have everybody have their own private, because you use it literally once a year to pick everything up and then it sits in the garage the rest of the time. Like, you could have one tool is what I'm trying to say and share it with everyone, but that only works if you're more community minded and respectful of different people. But then that doesn't necessarily mean that I can just steal like anything out of your garage, like just the fruit picker, like not anything else. There's like one thing that we all share. Like people have to have it together on that sense of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate and what is too much.
Yeah, there would have to be a learning curve, because like that would involve, you know, every time your whole thought process would have to change, because every time you're like, I need the fruit picker thing, then you think, oh, it's not right in my garage. I gotta walk over to this place. Oh, I'm probably gonna have to talk to somebody while I'm grabbing it. Oh, I'm gonna communicate. You're gonna start communicating with everybody, and
right.
It changes everything. Not in a bad way, but most people aren't used to actually communicating with their neighbors because they don't need to.
Oh, you totally got it. Most people think like, I would rather spend $25 at the True Value and not have to talk to anyone and just buy the tool and do it myself than to actually have to get into a conversation. But I think like that the conversation is actually good. It's actually well needed. But like in my neighborhood, things are good. And what people mostly do is pick their extra trees, whatever they've got, like lemons or limes, and then put a basket out on the front yard, and you can take as many as you need to. So it's kind of like there's always enough, because like, do you know how many limes come off of the tree? Like so many limes, and they all already on the same week. Like you can't even use them all. Exactly. You put a lot out for others, and then when their trees are ready, then they share them with you. Like it's just very sensible, and there's so many things that are like that. Like we should just be living in this very sensible way that I think if humans had real self-determination, that's the way you'd set up your life for yourself. That if you didn't have these fat asses in Washington, D.C. that are totally self-serving and evil and wicked and the worst, like no morals type people, like they do all sorts of things that are really make your life really uncomfortable. If you didn't have them intervening and you just set up your life in a comfortable way for you, I think communities would set up beautiful places.
Oh, yeah.
I think, you would do sensible things that make you and your neighbors happy, and you would share your resources in a sensible way, but still have private property, because some things I don't want you to take, like that.
Sure, like, but it's simple. It's not, you know, even in a house, like, you share stuff, right? When I'm sitting there drinking out of a glass of water, she doesn't come up and like grab it out of my hand and try to drink out of it at the same time. It's very simple. It's not like, how do we figure out the science behind sharing things? Like, it's not that hard.
That's right. Public versus private property, and private property that is permanent or private property that is transitory. Like this is my glass of water while I'm drinking out of it. Mm-hmm. That all of these are very fair things, and like being able to do that and maintain those healthy social boundaries. This is also part of becoming like a good galactic citizen of what you're doing with your mind. Like how much of your mind do you want to share telepathically? Not, you don't have to share everything. Like, this is how much I want to share with you, but then this, and this is private over here. Like, there's all of those levels of sophistication that is what we need to start going towards. But first, we need to get out of survival mode, which would be really wonderful. We gotta stop getting, like, sprayed with mustard gas and chemtrails and whatever they're doing. I don't want to complain. Let's keep it light and everything like that. But they have been spraying some SHIT on some of these days that it's like, I look down, like, there are sparkles on my skin. It looks like unicorn glitter, but I swear it is not makeup mica glitter. It is coming from the sky, and none of that is healthy. Like, that is, like, just blah, yuck. Really not fun. This is not the rave. This is not glitter. This is a contamination.
We've got a lot of things that we need to sort of purge. I don't know. I think we've talked about this before, but like going to your government official and saying, "Hey, could you stop chemtrailing us?" They'll be like, those are condensation trails."
They would never admit it. That's correct. Because basically, maybe 50 years from now, you might get some file folder released that says, "Oh, by the way, there really was a weather program, blah, 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 and we sprayed you with pathogens." Like, you're never going to get satisfaction in that way. At this point, like, look, let me say this is the analogy. Let's say, like, you're some girl or whatever, and you have a boyfriend, things go bad, and then the boyfriend becomes like a bad stalker. And you go to the police, and you're like, "Hey, like, this creep is bugging me. He won't leave me alone." And they're like, "File the protection, file the paperwork, blah, blah, blah." And then you have a problem when you call the police, and they're totally like eating a donut out to lunch, and like they're not going to protect you. And meanwhile, this guy is all in your face. So then, what do? Talk to your brother, who's actually like in with whatever, a street gang or the mafia or something like that. And it's like, "Oh, this guy's causing you problems. Oh, I think we're going to go have a little visit to him." And then you get actual things done. Like, I think we are at that level where it's like, "Oh, we have written enough petitions and filed enough restraining orders, and the cops are sitting around eating a donut while we are getting beaten up. It is time to talk to your older brother or whatever connections you have in the supernatural realm of angelic mafia, because somebody needs to roll up the sleeves and go ballistic on this." It's no longer like asking politely. It is now time to actually have real action. So that's what I'm telling everyone. Like, it is now time for a supernatural level of justice. And what we could use the word karma, but we could also use like cosmic law enforcement. What you send out comes back to you. And it's been too long that those things have been delayed. Like, the rubber band is pulled back, but we haven't released the slingshot yet. It's been like years of this rubber band pulled back. Slingshots are being released right now and in the near future. Like, just understand, like, all these people they're all going to get their evilness slingshotted directly back to them. And that is another form of satisfying and healing to watch that happen, especially when they were trying to fuck with you. Like, if they were trying to send that evil to you and then step on the rake and it goes into their own face. That is satisfying.
Let's wait for the snap. So I know what I'm going to do as far as tomorrow. I'm just going to like think about this wildest like left shot out from left field, just like something that nobody can comprehend.
Good.
That's what I'm going to aim for.
Good, spontaneous, wild, surprising, unexpected. Good.
And I would hope everyone else can do something similar.
Yes.
And don't give it too much of your, don't give it too much of your own self. Just let it be. It's going to happen. Something's going to happen, so just let it be.
I also feel I'm a big believer in, like, we've all already done our auditioning. Like, some people have worked really hard and done a ton of inner transformation work and changed their diet and done blah, 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 and all these different things. Like, people have worked hard on themselves, especially over 2020. And some people have sat in a lackadaisical sense, like Terrence McKenna calls them, the lumpen masses. The lumpen masses have sat around, being sad that there's no sports games or whatever, the new entertainment's going on. But they didn't say, let's take 2020, take the opportunity to do a deep dive or start doing push-ups at home or something like that. Like, they did not do a whole life, soul, body transformation makeover. And that, like, there's different destinations for the different types of people. Like, if you did the hard work, then you're like, cool, I'm ready for this challenge that now comes. But if you didn't do the hard work, then you're like, challenge? Wait, I'm totally unprepared. Nobody told me that this would be happening, and now I'm naked in the dream having a test, and I don't know what to do. Like, those guys, they are like up Schitt's Creek, and they don't have the paddle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta have your paddle, gotta have your blanket, you gotta have everything you need.
No, they don't have a towel. Exactly.
Towel,
They're panicking and they don't have a towel. Yeah.
Let me see the cat.
But yeah, if you did the things that you're supposed to do, I think that the current will take you where you're supposed to go. Like there's your little baby. What's your baby's name?
He's Echo.
Echo. Echo's still really young, right?
Yeah, he doubled in size over about a month. So I think he was probably about 2.5 pounds when we got him, and now he's over 5.
Yeah, right
I
on.
think he is.
Is Echo indoor, outdoor? Like, does he get out?
We take him out to the back every once in a while, but he's mostly an indoor cat.
Cool.
He's got so much energy. He's wild.
Totally sweet and cute and beautiful.
Yeah.
I love our creature teachers.
hmm Animals are so much nicer than humans many times.
That's it. Gary, I'm with you all the way. My dog is my best friend, not in a allegory sense, in a literal sense. Like, I talk with her and tell her everything, and I feel like other humans don't understand, but she really understands me. Like, seriously. I feel lucky to have a dog that is a friend, you know? Like, these are very isolating times, so you gotta take what you get. No offense, Cheeky. Take what you can get, though.
But we're all in this together, 6 feet apart, Aurora.
Oh, God, I know. That was from the movie Brazil. I'm sure you know that movie, right?
Brazil?
Yeah, from Terry Gilliam. It's
I
a
don't
pretty
think I've
old
seen it.
movie. Go see it immediately. Brazil, it's like a future dystopia world, and there's this guy who he like goes around fixing people's plumbing because it's this huge red tape deal, rigmarole to try to get your plumbing fixed. So this guy gets a visit from the ninja plumber. He kind of like swoops on in, and he's like, I'm going to fix your plumbing even though you don't have the right, form signing triplicate.
Uh-huh.
And when the guy thanks him, he's like, oh, thank you so much. He's like, don't worry, we're all in this together. And that becomes a theme throughout the entire movie. So it's very apt that it's said ironically from the very well-paid people that have a huge savings account saying to everyone else who's barely living month to month, like, oh, we're all in this together. And like they have like a silken mask. Have you seen some people? They have literally like a silken face mask, with like golden chains that come down decoratively from it. And they're like, oh, darling, we're all in this together, Well, I don't know how I will possibly survive if not for my voluminous savings accounts and various other material storehouses that I have available to me. But somehow we will all get through this.
Yes. I can't stand rich people. They make me want to vomit.
Yeah. There's definitely, it's obvious now at this point who's who. Like, when there's celebrities and they're like in their pool, and they're like, we're all in this together. It's like, you have a pool. Like, you're rich. Like, let's face it. They're just very tone deaf and they don't get it, and everyone else is just looking at them like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yep. I'm ready for the whole thing just go wild. That's what I'm ready for.
I think it's gonna. I think we're gonna see caca, cuckoo, bananas, feathers, and fur flying everywhere. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria.
Good. Perfect. We're coming up on about an hour and a half, Aurora, so I think this is probably a good time to wrap her up.
Sounds good.
But, I just wanted to get in a little bit of discussion to help some people like simmer down a little bit if they've been getting real wound up over something coming up, because
maybe this should be wound up, because I feel like we are heading to a momentous nexus point or whatever we're heading toward. Like when you're going to one of those big traffic interchanges, like when you drive across the country, it's like it's I-40 for the next 800 miles. But then when you get to this city, you're like, okay, you want to be in the 8th lane going in this direction, not the 12th lane going this direction. I think we're at that level of the timeline convergence now, where everybody has been jockeying for position as we've been kind of coming into this moment, and now you want to make sure you're in the right lane. Like, I'm in the toll lane that's going for I-75 going to freedom, as opposed to totalitarianism, AI, assimilation, line up over there in that direction. So to make sure that you're on the right pathway here.
Choose your lane. I think most of us have chosen it already.
Yeah.
That have been doing the work for the past 10 years, but
Definitely.
it doesn't help to reaffirm, like, this is where I stand, this is the type of realm or reality I wish to live in, and, what happens.
Very cool. Very cool. Rest assured.
Thanks for coming on, Aurora.
Thank you for inviting me spontaneously. And also, I was joking that this conversation is like, we're like, you're on your motorcycle and I'm on my motorcycle. We're like speeding up the ramp, ready to make the jump across the Grand Canyon. It's like, let's have like a little chat. Like, how's things going? Like, good. Okay, time to make the jump. Like, then we do the Evel Knievel leap. Like, I'll see you on the other side. So, like, thank you. We're leaping.
Yeah.
I'll see you on the other side. Maybe have a soft landing.
We'll see everybody on the other side.
Yeah.
Let's make it something fun.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you again, Aurora. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Peace, love, and happiness. And we'll see. Bye.
Great night.
You too. Thank you, everybody. Once again. Buckle up, as Fabian says. Alright, peace out.